big feelings require big nature. You see those camels? Oops. What? How do I do this? Yeah, they're kissing camels. Anyway, I wanted to share a little bit. It felt kind of weird not sharing that my mom was in town for 2 weeks, or for a couple weeks before I just recently did, but it's just been really validating to me. You know, I keep telling my mom that I had all these reasons why I called her, and she's checked off every box and then some. And during this time, you know, obviously I had a lot of dreams of like going to yoga classes I could never normally go to. I wanted to brunch, I wanted to go take each of my kids to go eat somewhere special. But none of that's happening, so I can definitely do that, or I can appreciate the fact that she's here to help. And it would be so much harder on me, you know, with my husband's job and stuff if she wasn't here. So it kind of all works out, even when it doesn't work out. You know, for years now, I've been telling my college friends that like our families should just like move to the middle of nowhere and start a commune. And times like this, that really, I mean, like, it started as a joke, kind of. Not really. It never was a joke. I think I was like, right, guys? Ha, because nobody was like, you know, the way that I totally could think about it. However, this experience, I feel like, has really validated that for me, like I said, about having my mom here, because I feel a little bit like it's as if I've been in a social experiment of like how much, you know, I can handle personally, and I'm tapping out. You know, like before I was feeling like that for so long, and like I said, I was doing everything I knew to do, and it just wasn't enough. And I know enough to know that I'm not the only one. I mean, that's what I do. I talk to so many women about this, and I love people like Kelly Brogan's work, where she talks about how all this depression and anxiety and a lot of the things that we're seeing, these like mental illnesses that we're seeing, and I'm not speaking for all mental illnesses. I'm not a doctor. I can't do that. However, she is. And so she just talks about how a lot of the disconnect that we're feeling is because we've strayed so far from our human nature and having communities and being so supported and like sisterhoods. And you know, she's always doing these ceremonies of like welcoming her friends' daughters when they start, you know, menstruating, different things like that, like stuff that sounds so hokey to some people, or I don't know, woo-woo. And I understand that, because what I feel like is unique to my experience is, you know, my mother is Okinawan, so that's an indigenous people culture. And then my father is American, so, you know, Caucasian, red, green, blue eyes. So, and then I went to a Christian school in Okinawa where they kind of, all the things that you hear are really true about, like, you know, people treating locals like they're savages, and like you pray to what God, and like that's not real, or ancestor worship, and kind of having this label of like, that's what people think before they find blank. And I'm not anti-religion in any way. I feel like my spirituality is a deep practice that is private and personal to me, but there's definitely a hint of that that I grew up around, which was, you know, I would go to this Christian English-speaking school where they'd say, don't worship any other gods. And then I'd go home and have ceremonies where we are honoring our ancestors and offering food to the dead. And there were many times in Bible class or in chapel or whatever where people would ask, you know, am I worshiping another God? Is my whole Japanese family going to hell because they don't believe in Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life, and all this? People who are familiar with the Bible will understand what I'm talking about, but I'm not bashing religion. All I'm saying is that I myself have I have a foot on both of those sides, right? So that's why I really, I read something from Untamed. My girlfriend screenshotted it today by Glennon Doyle, where she says at a certain point in her life, she started to question all the norms that she was raised with and all the things that she thought she was supposed to do in her life, and how suddenly she realized she didn't want to subscribe to so many of them. And I totally value that, and I think it's so wonderful, and I totally relate, because I grew up with a foot in both cultures, I've always been wrong in some way. And, you know, Japanese can look at Americans and see the health situation and be like, but Americans can look at Japan if you've seen Queer Eye, and kind of shake their heads at the lack of affection and love that's shown openly there. So when you understand both, I feel like there are obviously a lot of pains that come with that, but at the same time, it helps you not be so attached to any one way of living your life and not thinking that either country is driving on the wrong side of the road. So I have no idea how I got onto that ramble. I guess the bottom line is just the fact that, you know, maybe we are more primitive than we like to think that we are. I think maybe we like to think we're like intelligent, sophisticated, better than primates. And in a lot of ways, I don't know that we are, you know, because I am so supported right now. I mean, if I could just give you in a nutshell what it's like right now, I'm feeling all the things that other people are feeling, and other mothers. And, you know, I have 4 kids. They're little. They're all at home with me, cooking 24/7. To be honest, a lot of things haven't changed. However, now my mom's here in this weird, you know, turn of events, and I'll go to do several things in a day, and she's already done them. And I'm like, I think like that just like gave people goosebumps, I'm sure, because for a mom, for a woman, for I don't know what hat you wear where you can relate to that, but that is just a huge weight off of my shoulders. And I think there's really something to be said. I'm not coming from a place of like, I think I have it figured out. It's more from a place of like, you know, nature and community and all these things that people thrive on. There's something to that, you know, like I'm discovering it while I'm sharing it, because my life is really like that. I experience something and then I turn around and share it. So anyway, I hope that was useful to you. Kind of a ramble.